go get ready for Texas A&M. They've won 9 out of the last 11 in the series. The last time we beat them was 2015 in the SEC tournament, so they've had their way with us over the last few years. Looking at where the league is now after a couple of weeks, you see 5 teams that are ranked, and you see 8 teams that are either ranked or getting votes. The road teams have had some success, and so I think it makes it just where it's really competitive. If you look at the teams that are kind of at the bottom right now, they've either beaten or been right there with some of the teams that are at the top of the league. Some of the teams that were at the bottom of the non-conference are now, up at the top. So it's just been, really competitive. So I think the grind of, for us, 16 games that are remaining, getting excited about playing each and every opponent, and each and every opponent does something different. I think with Texas A&M, it starts with Starks and Flag. Starks' emergence last year was a huge part of their run. And remember, going into the NCAA tournament, and then after they beat Providence in North Carolina, there was a lot of thought that Texas A&M could be a Final Four team. They had, Williams was a pro, and the other big kid was thought to be a pro, and an NBA player, so on and so forth. So they had a nice run last year in the tournament. Of course, the only game we lost at home last year was a great game here at home at Texas A&M, where they dominated us on the inside and dominated us on the boards. But our kids, I thought, really battled and competed really hard. They're a very good rebounding team this year, second in the league in rebounding. So I think for us, though, just going the road and playing better, handling the ball better, not turning the ball over as much, playing with the same effort and energy and confidence that you do at home. And so from that standpoint, it's a great opportunity for us.
I think last week Bryce had each shot 19 3-pointers, and then this past game he only had 4. As a coach, is there a way to kind of, balance like wanting to shoot as much as he can when he's open, and also making sure he's making smart decisions?
Yeah, well, I don't have it in front of me, but I do think I think he made 3 out of the 4 he took against Georgia, and so I thought that one of the things that I'd said to Bryce, might have even been at halftime, was that it's a good thing when we're up 10 at halftime and he didn't have to carry us. And so when you're playing against the best teams in your schedule, the best players have to perform. And so at Ole Miss, this year, because they're better, it's one of the better teams we'll play in the SEC on the road. And so it makes sense that Bryce would need to step up. And I thought in a lot of ways he did step up. He probably had a couple shots too many, but that wasn't my issue with him. My issue would be more he didn't have a rebound, or my issue would be just making being the complete player that he wants to be, that I know he can be. I do think against Georgia, he was. I thought he did an excellent job of not forcing the issue and taking what the defense gave him.
The difference you got, the difference you guys have had shooting threes here and then on the road has been pretty wide. You think it's just more familiarity here? What kind of hasn't clicked on the road? What do you think the issue is?
Well, I'd say a couple things. First of all, you do have a different basketball. You play with a Nike ball, or we'll play with an Adidas ball at Texas A&M, and the feel are different, and obviously the friendly confines of the rims and things like that. Typically, most teams will shoot better at home than they will on the road, and I think when we played up in Birmingham, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I don't think we shot it terribly, and probably because we're playing with our, they were playing with a Wilson ball, so I think that could have something to do with it.
Will you practice with the different basketballs, Coach?
We do, yeah, we do. We practice with with a different ball. And I remember at NC State we couldn't handle. I mean, we just couldn't catch the ball. We were slipping out of our hands like crazy. And so sometimes we try to play with, really truly brand new ball. And sometimes you play with it. It's interesting. Football's different, doesn't it? The offensive team gets to play with the ball they want to play with, and they change those balls all the time. My explanation is not an excuse. My explanation is simply, like today, we broke out a bunch of brand new Adidas balls. Some are broke in and some are brand new, not knowing what we're going to see.
You mentioned that Samir had become a better outside shooter than when he was at VCU. Is that something you guys had a goal for him maybe throughout last year?
I think it was a goal. Yeah, it definitely was a goal for Samir because he was a breakdown guy and a guy that could get to the rim and get others involved and put him a playmaking guard and maybe a guy you closed out short on, a guy that maybe said go ahead and shoot it. And he didn't have quite the same confidence. And I just think that's just his year. In his redshirt year, he got bigger and stronger, which he needed to, and he still needs to become more explosive. But he spent a lot of time in the gym, And then I just do think that, we have I have a different confidence level in Samir, I think that's helped him just relax. And I like when he has the ball, and I like when he's looking at it. I feel like he's going to make it.
Considering how Anthony was performing as a starter earlier in the season, and then what he did yesterday, and you're going on the road, is there any thought about putting him back in the starting lineup, about trying to curb these slow starts? Or?
Yeah, I don't know that. Sure, if I thought we were consistently starting slow, I would make that adjustment. But I don't know that we have consistently, started slow. I think we've started slow in the second half. But I will tell you that when Anthony's playing better, like he is, we're a different team. And I think you noticed that he was playing better, but he also played more. And that's a function of what he was able to do. I mean, obviously he defensively, he can impact the game with his rim protection, his activity. Thought he rebounded really well. His offensive rebounding was really good. So it was good to see him back. He showed us a little bit of what we were used to seeing a year ago before his injury.
I know it's early yet, and you've mentioned at the start of the SEC season how a team like Tennessee last year was 0-2, and they come back to win the conference championship with you. But with your record now, and then this being a big week going on the road, and then you get to Kentucky, I know you're focused on A&M, but how big of a week is this to kind of set the tone to where you're not playing catch-up by the time you get to halfway through the season?
Well, first of all, I think Tennessee has shown to me that they've separated themselves. I don't care what the records are. I just think that right now they look like they're the best team in the league. But I think more, we have 16 games left. We got to get everyone we have a chance to get because it is so competitive. And certainly, as it relates to competing for a championship, we can't let there get much distance between us and Tennessee. But that's not my focus. Is truly, all right. What do we do from Ole Miss to Georgia? What are we going to do from Georgia to Texas A&M? And then what are we going to do? And if you look back at my history, we truly take it one at a time. But you need to win some on the road, and if we're going to be able to have the kind of year we want to have. And so that's why this is a tremendous opportunity for us.
What do you want to get done between Georgia and Texas A&M this week?
Well, I think the differences in personnel, the differences in style of play are vast from one opponent to the next. And so, Georgia, Texas A&M, Kentucky, I mean, they're all different. And so, again, we'll learn from Georgia things that we didn't do as well. Like, for example, transition defense. If we don't get better in our transition defense from Georgia to Texas A&M, Starks will drive it right down the hole, and it doesn't matter what we do as far as our coverage is concerned. They're really good in transition. we better get better we better get better and same thing with Kentucky. That would be a good common denominator. So we'll work on that hard this week for both opponents. But the way we would guard, or the things that we would look for offensively, are different from game to game, based on what our opponent is good at, what they're not good at. We're not good enough or dominant enough to dictate, like, look, this is what we do, good luck dealing with it. We've got to be able to game plan and have a lot of options in order to be successful, both offensively and defensively, and I think we do.